We got a perfect day for football. I mean, mid-November, you could not ask for nicer weather conditions. In the low mid-60s after yesterday was a washout. Miserable on Friday. Gorgeous on Saturday. Virginia Tech getting ready to kick off. They won the toss, chose to defer. Before kickoff, Dave, let's get to the 4 keys to the game.
Well, for Virginia Tech, we talked about what's on the line. They can't fall asleep today. This is a Georgia Tech team that's going to play them to the wire. They've got everything in front of them. Pitt next week, Virginia the following week. If they win those games, they're in the Coastal. They represent the Coastal in the ACC championship game. And for Georgia Tech, you hear the coaches, you hear the players. It's all about us. We need to find a way to make ourselves better each and every time we step on the field. They have that opportunity against one of the top teams in their division.
John Parker Romo will kick it off for Virginia Tech. Wanye Thomas, Tobias Oliver back to receive for the Yellow Jackets. And this game will begin 1st and 10 from the 25-yard line. And James Graham coming off his best start yet for Jeff Collins, who's the 20th football coach in the history of this program. Grew up here in Georgia, and he is trying to remake this team, specifically remake the offense. And they've made incredible strides. You talk about where they were 2 months ago and where they were last week. It's like a totally different football team.
Well, he's got a tough task now because the guy he's following was a big-time winning coach here at Georgia Tech, and Paul Johnson. Paul stepped away and decided to retire. He had a great run here at Georgia Tech, and so he's got some big shoes to fill.
Graham begins in the shotgun, play clock winding down. And this game begins inauspiciously with a loss of 5.
Delay of game. Offense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Marcus Woods, your referee today.
Well, number one task for Virginia Tech today, Evan, will be they've got to make sure they stop the run, limit the run game. Graham, a big part of that. This is an offense that ran for 465 yards, albeit a different system against Virginia Tech a year ago. Ran them out of their own building last year.
First give to Jordan Mason, and he barely gets back to the line of scrimmage. He meets Rayshard Ashby, who's just been awesome. One of the best linebackers in the ACC without question in 2019.
Fun to talk to him yesterday. We had a chance to visit with him as they got in from their trip down from Blacksburg, and he's fired up about this opportunity. He had 11 tackles in this game a year ago. Their linebackers had a heavy duty a year ago against Georgia Tech.
And it's early, but the hamstring for Ashby looks all right. First throw for Graham near the sideline and ruled complete at the 30. Caught by Adonicus Sanders. It'll be 3rd and 5.
An outstanding catch on the sideline. A toe tap here, moving the quarterback out of the pocket, get away from the rush. This is something Graham does extremely well, throwing the ball on the move. Let's check the toes. Does he get the toe tap?
It's as close as it gets.
Ooh, that is very close. Official right there on the call. 5 catches last week against UVA for Sanders.
Moved into the starting lineup, and Jalen Camp got hurt. Graham keeps it. And he's not going to get to the marker. Met by Chamari Connor with a boom.
Well, it's a nice play by Chamari Connor. He has to come out of coverage here. This is where you gamble a little bit when you come out of coverage to take a quarterback. This is a zone read play. I think that Graham thought he had a little bit more going in the pass game. He thought maybe he's going to get the ball to Brown there, but pretty good job of Virginia Tech sorting that out and limiting his opportunity to get the first down.
Presley Harvin kicks it away, and fair catch called for by Tavion Robinson. 36-yard punt for Harvin. And now we see Virginia Tech back out there on offense. The Hokies, of course, have won 3 straight games in the ACC after an 0-2 start to conference play. With a win today, they become bowl eligible for the 27th consecutive season.
They've done a nice job of spreading the ball around. Hendon Hooker has had some outstanding performances this year, albeit he's been a little bit banged up. You see no interceptions for Hooker. He's done a great job taking care of the ball.
Hooker's going to keep it up the gut. And an 8-yard gain on first down. It's been an issue for Georgia Tech all season long in conference play, Dave, but their defensive line just isn't that big.
Yeah, and they're going to have a tough task today. Virginia Tech going to try to come downhill with them at the run game. McLeese will carry it a ton of times. Of course, Hooker there in the zone read game. He had 69 yards rushing, 15 carries a week ago against Wake Forest. They talked about it in the opening. They want to feature him in the run game.
Tight end Mitchell in motion, and McLeese met in the backfield. Tremendous penetration there from the Georgia Tech line.
Well, Ryans comes in and makes a nice play, just knifing through, blowing up the play. And that's what you're looking for Georgia Tech. You're looking for negative plays. Looking to create third down situations where you get off the field. This is a defense that struggled a little bit on third down, 45% conversion. But here's an opportunity to get off the field if you're a Yellow Jacket.
They picked up 8 on first down, lost 2 on second down. Hooker sets up the screen. Deshaun McLeese tackled a couple yards short. Curtis Ryans with his second stop, and unless the Hokies go for it deep in their own territory, it'll be a Virginia Tech 3-and-out.
Yeah, the ghost play with the reverse, then the faking back. You're going to throw the screen to. Not a great throw, but McLeese is able to reel it in. Boy, this team, Virginia Tech, really has struggled on third down over the last 2 weeks. Just 7 for 30 on third down the last 2 weeks.
Oscar Bradburn's having an amazing season. The Aussie is the ACC Specialist of the Week last week, but here's Amarian Brown. He's a pretty special true freshman receiver. And he'll set up the Yellow Jackets across the 30 for their second offensive drive of the game. 49-yard punt and a 19-yard return, so a net of 30 for Brad. 2 weeks from today.
And those numbers you saw about Georgia Tech offensively, obviously they're not the numbers that Jeff Collins is looking for and will continue to improve. Obviously they're doing different things here offensively and to fit those guys into that system and try to have some success with that. I think their quarterback has a chance to be a star.
He'll pitch it, and not much there. This Virginia Tech defense, you know, it's interesting, Dave, because Georgia Tech had its best offensive game of the season last week. And you can make an argument that Virginia Tech, the way they played defense against the dynamic Wake offense, was the best performance of Bud Foster's unit season.
Yeah, no question about it. I think both teams have a tremendous amount of momentum coming in, albeit Virginia Tech's is different, thinking, okay, we got a chance to win the Coastal side and get back to the ACC championship game, which is kind of where these two teams have lived over the last several years. These two teams have been a big part of that championship game, and this game has meant a lot going toward that. It certainly means a lot for Virginia Tech today.
Had a look at Justin Fuente. The one team in the Coastal Division that he has not yet beat as coach of the Hokies is, of course, Georgia Tech. Graham keeps it. Flag is down, and Graham loses a yard. Jamari Connor has been active early. Let's check the marker.
Looked like an illegal formation.
Illegal motion, offense, 5-yard penalty, second down.
Yeah, it looked like Sanders came in motion, was unsure where he was supposed to be, and subsequently got caught illegal motion. But regardless, it's now 3rd and long. You know, you talk about Bud Foster. Abby told us about Bud Foster. You go back and look at his numbers, Evan, all the way back to '96 when he became the D coordinator here. This is the number 3 team in the country since 1996 on third down. They just get you off the field.
Foster overall in his 33rd year at Virginia Tech. He's got a few regular season games left, and then who knows, maybe a ACC title game. As Graham flips it, it's incomplete. Intended for Oliver, off his hands and then nearly picked off. Jermaine Waller right there defensively. And Virginia Tech now with 12 3-and-outs forced in their last 2 games plus 2 drives today.
Well, nice pickup by Mason coming with the linebacker. Did a really good job of picking that the blitzing linebacker Dax Holyfield gave an opportunity for Thomas to make for Graham to make a throw. Just did not recognize the coverage. Had man coverage and a shallow drag was wide open.
Tremendous hang time on that kick. But here comes the electric Tavion Robinson. And he will trip up right around the 28-yard line. A 55-yard punt for Harvin, but a substantial return. Charlie Thomas made the stop. With Virginia Tech back on offense, let's check out our Hardy's star to watch. Damon Hazelton leading the Hokies in receiving yards and touchdowns. He had a touchdown in 3 straight games before last week when he didn't get in the end zone, Dave, but he had 7 grabs for 86 yards in the win over the Dukes.
Yeah, and he had 6 catches for 81 yards against Georgia Tech a year ago, so he's very familiar with a number of these players on the field.
Second team All-ACC was Hazelton a year ago. The reverse, this is Robinson, and he's got a lot of green in front of him. Tavion Robinson inside Georgia Tech territory, out of bounds around the 22. A gain of 57.
Remember, they faked the reverse on the screen on 3rd down the last play. Now they come back with the reverse. Hendon Hooker out trying to get a block, trying to help his receiver. Didn't get one, but explosive play in the gadget game.
Looked like a young Dave Archer out there on the double reverse blocking there. Deshaun McLeese has been the workhorse in the Hokies backfield, and he'll take it inside the 20 down to the 16.
Yeah, McLeese with 4 career 100-yard games, but he's got 2 this season. He's been a lot more viable for them to be a little bit of a workhorse back.
Injury's got to sit out at least 1 play, but he appears to be all right. Georgia Tech could need him, could use him, because they're defending in the CPI red zone, where Virginia Tech on a couple big plays has worked it down the field in a hurry. 2 plays, 55 yards so far on this, the Hokies' second drive of the game.
Georgia Tech's been pretty good down here. They've been here a lot defensively, but teams are only converting 53% of the time touchdowns.
Hooker zips it to the perimeter. This is Turner. And he'll set up a 1st and goal. It was Turner who had the early touchdown on a deep ball from Ryan Willis last year in Blacksburg against Georgia Tech.
A lot of different looks, mixing up a stack look to the outside, quick screen to the outside to Turner. Turner had 2 catches, 62 yards, and a touchdown against Georgia Tech a year ago. Both these receivers, Hazelton and Turner, had big days a year ago.
Despite Georgia Tech running away with the game in the second half, and we mean running away with the game. This is McLeese inside the 5, tripped up at the 3.
I mentioned Georgia Tech defensively in the red zone, and they've done, we saw the CPI red zone, 53% of the time have teams converted touchdowns. Now they've been down here 43 times, which tells you, okay, 20-20, we need to shore some things up. But once they've gotten down here, they've been pretty good. So this is something that, and on the other hand, Virginia Tech's been very good because of their ability to run the football with the quarterback.
2nd and goal. Hooker up the middle. Touchdown. The signal from the line judge, and Virginia Tech strikes first.
Just a power play for Hendon Hooker, straight back, going to get lead by the back. You see McLeese is going to lead him up in the hole. And then Hooker is able to power in. 6'4", 228-pounder at quarterback. So that's a load to bring down if you're a Georgia Tech defender.
Johnson's extra point is up and through. Caleb Oliver, the Georgia Tech defender, it's some pretty good size too. 6'4", 212, but he could not stop Hooker. Bursting up the 3-game losing streak against Georgia Tech. Hendon Hooker from 3 yards out to cap the 5-play 71 drive in just 2 minutes. They started the game last week, Dave, if you remember, with that nearly 10-minute drive against Wake Forest that ended in a field goal. They did what they wanted to last week, which was keep the ball away from Wake by going slow. I think today they're trying to go a little faster with the uncertainty of this Georgia Tech defensive front.
Well, when you get the quarterbacks play in consecutive weeks, there was a couple of weeks ago where Hendon Hooker was unable to play. He's played last week, played well, so you've got a little bit more continuity at the quarterback position.
And he was shaken up not long ago, but Wanye Thomas back out there to return the kickoff. Khalil Ladler brings him down. Georgia Tech still looking for its first down offensively.
Well, tremendous athlete, and really not very well blocked by Georgia Tech. That was pretty much Wanye Thomas making a play on him by himself to push it out over the 25 to the 28-yard line. So now what Georgia Tech needs to do is they need to get in some rhythm. Everything's been kind of skewed, kind of impromptu plays by James Graham. Got to get something on rhythm, a throw on rhythm. Got a couple of soft corners.
They come out with 5 wide. You like that?
Absolutely. Any quarterback can look 5 wide. What are you talking about?
Still a little disorienting to see Georgia Tech with 5 wide receivers.
Well, you do a good job. What Virginia Tech does such a great job of, Evan, is they don't give you a feel for where the pressure's coming from.
Right.
They do a really good. Bud Foster's been brilliant at designing the zone pressures, somebody coming from the secondary. When you spread them out with the 5 wides, and in this case, 4 wides and a tight end, Tyler Davis, who just made that catch, now you kind of make them declare where people are, and it's going to give a clearer vision to the young quarterback.
7 yards to Davis on first down, sets him up on schedule, 2nd and 3. Jerry Howard Jr. in the backfield along with Graham. Howard takes it, and it will be 3rd down. Wouldn't want to be the stats guy trying to decide which Hokie to give the tackle to there.
Now, Reggie Floyd, the safety up around the line of scrimmage, is a guy that is very active. This is his 46th game as a Hokie, one of the veteran players on his team. He had a nice play around. And that's the thing. When you look up as a quarterback, Virginia Tech's going to have all their players within 7-8 yards of the line of scrimmage. It's kind of daunting as a quarterback to figure out who's coming.
3rd down and short. Graham throws, and it's dropped. Incomplete. Broken up by Divine Diablo.
Look like Kalani Norris, the freshman, has an opportunity here. This is one where you got to really come back and squeeze the ball. Can't wait. Can't wait on the football. You open up the door for Diablo to come in and get the right hand on the ball. So that's one on the young receiver in Kalani Norris. Youngster out of Miami. You got to come back to the football.
Clear catch signaled for and made by Tavion Robinson. Presley Harvin doing a nice job punting the ball. He's had 3 opportunities, and we're not even 9 minutes into the game.
Well, this is kind of one of those hold-on-the-rope moments, Evan. Don't you kind of feel that way? Their defense gave up a big explosive play on the reverse. Ultimately, give up the touchdown to Hooker on the quarterback keep. This is one of those moments you feel like in the game. There's a lot of momentum moments. This is one of those where Georgia Tech defensively kind of hanging on, trying to help their offense kind of get untracked a little bit.
On the defensive front alone, they were missing Chris Martin and Antoine Owens last week. Kelton Dawson, we're told, not expected to play today after suffering an injury in practice. Keyshawn King is the Virginia Tech running back, and he'll pick up 4 on first down, brought down by Christian Campbell.
Keyshawn King, big-time player out of Florida, Oak Leaf High School, had over 2,000 yards rushing and 31 touchdowns last year as a senior. Nice little change-up to go hand the ball to Keyshawn King, who's got some explosiveness to him.
True freshman. Hooker claps his hands, looks to throw. Deep down the sideline, Trey Turner makes the catch over the shoulder right in front of the Georgia Tech bench.
Pass complete to number 11, Trey Turner.
Well, Georgia Tech plays a lot of man coverage in the secondary. They're bringing pressure. Trey Swilling one-on-one on the outside, and this is just a fade route, go route down the sideline. And how good is that throw by Hendon Hooker? Drops it right down the chimney chute to Trey Turner. Beautiful throw and catch.
37 yards down to the 36-yard line. Turner fakes the handoff, and that's good penetration, and Hooker goes down. Dropped in the backfield there by the Belgian freshman, Sylvain Youngjuan.
Well, Youngjuan does a really good job of staying his ground. A lot of times as a young player, he's just a freshman, played his high school ball at Newton down the road here in Covington, Georgia. But you can get sucked into some of the fakes. He stayed true to what he was responsible for. That was the back, made a nice play.
Youngjuan, big guy, 6'4", 255. Coach Collins says he runs in the 4'6", 4'7" range. It's Hooker who's got the football. It'll be 3rd and about 8 after Thomas makes the stop.
Well, Hooker slow to get up here now. He got a little twisted as he went to the ground. You see the brace on the knee. He's been struggling with some injuries. That a lot of times that brace on the left knee is more to keep from guys diving into that plant leg on the front side, but got a little faked out by Hendon Hooker there. But you see the twisting of the tackle. That's always part of it. And looks like Hendon Hooker may have to come out of the game.
Quincy Patterson jogging onto the field.
Well, this has been something that's been tough for Justin Fuente. He loves what Hooker brings to the table, but he just can't keep him on the field. Now, Quincy Patterson played against Notre Dame and played pretty well for a guy that hadn't played very much football, but he's going to be forced into action here.
Enters on a 3rd and 8 from the Georgia Tech 34. Patterson keeps it up the middle. He's got the first down and more. On a 3rd and 8, he runs for 19. First down, Virginia Tech.
Well, the one thing this kid can do is Patterson is 6'4", 245 pounds.
Get out of my way.
He can do this. He had 122 yards rushing in the North Carolina State game, the 6 overtime game, as he came in replacing Hooker, who was injured. And the Notre Dame game I mentioned 2 weeks ago, he had 77 yards rushing in that game. So this kid can really bring it downhill. Good to see Hooker back on the field, though. This kid gives him that dual threat ability, and he's really playing. He played at a high level last week.
14-yard run for Patterson, and now Hooker back in there. Fakes the handoff to Turner. Pressure coming. He gets the screen off, and look at this. Georgia Tech prevents him from scoring, but it's 1st and goal from the 2.
What a play. What a play by Zamari Walton, the corner. When he caught this, Evan, I stuck my hands in here. It's a touchdown. They caught him in a pressure look. King's got all the blockers out in front. And you look up and you say, wait a minute. Hey, Damon Hazelton, get a block for me, will you? But what a play by the freshman corner, Walton, to keep him out of the end zone. Two guys are going to see each other quite a bit over the next couple years. 2 freshmen.
Similar spot to where Hooker run it in. This time it is Keyshawn King rumbling into the end zone. Touchdown, Virginia Tech.
Give King the payoff. Excellent call on the screenplay to catch Georgia Tech into pressure. King doesn't get in, but give him an opportunity to go ahead and shove it in the end zone. Just power play straight up the middle. Very similar to the quarterback run, only this time it's King carrying the football. And really goes in pretty much untouched.
Impressive drive from the Hokies. The long pass to Turner, and then the extra point from Johnson. 14-zip Hokies.
Well, it's been 2 explosive plays, Evan. It was the return in the first touchdown drive, or obviously the reverse by Robinson, and then it's the fade throw from Hooker to Turner that sets up this play. So 2 explosive plays have eaten up a lot of yardage in these 2 touchdown drives.
It's nice to bring in a guy when Hooker goes to the sideline for a play like Patterson, who's got pretty extensive experience and looked pretty darn confident bolting up the middle there.
Well, they didn't ask him to do much, did they? They said, catch the snap, first of all, and I want you coming downhill with 250 pounds. So I think they're pretty confident he can handle that. He's shown, we talked about the numbers, his North Carolina performance when he came in relief. He had over 100 yards in that game, in the overtime, 6 overtime game. And then, of course, his 1 start was against Notre Dame. He ran the ball well in that game as well.
Tobias Oliver.
Thomas going to let it sail over his head. Another touchback. And you know, it's funny, Georgia Tech's offense looked like they had figured something out last week. Hokie fans getting the...
Well, I can tell you this would be in the category of, you don't need to say it, but I'm going to. This is a huge moment for Georgia Tech offensively. They've got to find a way to flip the field here at least. Keep their defense on the sideline, let them sort some things out over there, and they've got to get their young quarterback in some kind of rhythm.
Graham on an option play, keeps it himself. Picks up 3, maybe 4, before Waller brings him down.
So James Graham played in 2 games a year ago in kind of some mop-up duty a couple of times. But you could see when you watched him warm up, his arm. It's a live arm. He can really shoot. He had a big day against Virginia a week ago. He threw 2 touchdowns, threw for 229 yards, including a back foot post over the top of the entire defense. Big time throw in the first half, in the first quarter actually. That kind of really showed, hey, this guy's got some skills now.
It's hard to impress former quarterback Dave Archer, but he was watching film, and you said last year watching him warm up, you were impressed with the arm. Meanwhile, This Hokies defense is pretty impressive too. Jordan Mason had nowhere to go, and it's 3rd and long again.
Yeah, this is just a sweep play, kind of a zone read type play. Graham could have kept that football. He decides to hand it off Mason, and that's what this is what Virginia Tech does, though. They're creating negative plays, 62 tackles for loss coming in, and that's something that Georgia Tech had remedied offensively last week. Going into the Virginia game, they were giving up 8 tackles for loss per game, only 2 tackles for loss, and no sacks a week ago.
3rd and 15. 4th drive of the game for Georgia Tech, and the 4th straight 3-and-out. Complete to Davis, but it's 5 yards short of the first. Divine Diablo makes the stop, and Presley Harvin has been a busy man here in the opening quarter.
That was not what the defense was looking for when they were sitting on their sideline making their adjustments. They were looking for their offense to possess the football.
This kick is going to bounce off the side of Harvin's foot, and it trickles out of bounds right around the 30. Spotted at the 31 for the Hokies offense that went 3-and-out on its first drive and drove for 2 touchdowns the last couple possessions. With a win today, the Hokies would have 7 wins on the season, which would make them bowl eligible. Remember, 2 victories over FCS teams. Those are the longest bowl streaks currently active in the nation. Of course, we saw Florida State become bowl eligible earlier today after missing last year, but this Hokies run under Frank Beamer and Bud Foster and now Justin Fuente is remarkable stuff. Hooker throws into traffic. That ball was nearly picked by Tariq Carpenter, intended for Dalton Keene.
Yeah, and I think Tariq Carpenter is dumbfounded as everybody in the stands. How do you miss this football? He throws it right at him. He may have been stunned and he threw it. He's trying to get to his big tight end, Dalton Keene. The ball's thrown behind him. Keene almost reels it in. But Carpenter is just befuddled as to how he didn't squeeze that one.
Would have been Carpenter's 2nd pick of the year. He could have made the catch, and that would have been a huge play for the Jackets defense. So 2nd and 10. 44 seconds remaining in the opening quarter. Hooker back to the air. This one's complete. 1st down and more. It's James Mitchell spun down at the 47 by Carpenter.
It's a very accurate throw. Again, in traffic, he gets the ball on the upfield shoulder, and he thrown it in the back shoulder. That might have been picked off. David Curry very close in coverage there. But well-thrown ball by Hooker just inside the linebacker. Good job of squeezing the football right there by Mitchell.
David Curry sporting the number 90 today in honor of Brandon Adams. Different member of the Jackets has worn 90 every week throughout the season. Kind of similar to Virginia Tech in a different way for a very different reason, obviously. On 1st down, Hooker looking deep. Turner was open, but Hooker threw it a little too far. Incomplete.
Yeah, just not enough air under this ball. When you see the end of it, you see the ball hit the ground, you think, wow, he's wide open. But when he lets this go, Turner's just kind of breaking away from coverage. So in that situation, you want to hang it a little bit. Let Turner run under it for you.
Dave Archer, the first, considering their struggles in August and September, the way they've played in October and now in November. 14-0. They start the 2nd quarter with a big play. Trey Turner down the sideline. He'll nearly break that tackle. He takes it all the way down to the 14-yard line for the Hokies.
Now, one thing they do at Virginia Tech is the wide receivers carry the ball almost as much as the backs do. Turner, this is his 15th carry on the year, so he's not a stranger to the jet sweep. Just a nice job of creating a crease for him on the outside. You see Darashaw, 77, get out in front. Also, Austin Cannon out there blocking. Excellent team concept there in the blocking scheme to give Turner the crease to the edge.
Caleb Oliver saved the touchdown. Here's McLeese up the middle. And Trey Turner had the 57-yard carry last week against Wake. That was Virginia Tech's longest rush of the year. just went 39 on the first play of the quarter. David Curry, the stop. Wearing the 90 jersey, and now 2nd and 7.
Trey Turner alone, Evan, now has 9 plays of 20-plus yards. He's an explosive play waiting to happen. We saw him catch the fade route earlier in the game, late in the first quarter, set up the second touchdown drive, and now here the big reverse play gives him an opportunity to put another one on the board.
Virginia Tech's done a nice job recruiting Greensboro, haven't they? Both Hendon Hooker and Trey Turner, among others. Clee stopped by Jordan Dominic, redshirt freshman from Lakeland, Florida there. Third down and about 5 for the Hokies.
See if Georgia Tech decides to come with pressure here. They've been a man team most of the year in the secondary. That allows them to get more players after the quarterback.
Hooker out of Dudley High School in Greensboro zings it outside to the tight end Keene, and he's very close, but perhaps a half-yard shy of the line to gain.
Well, this is really well defended by Georgia Tech. 3 defenders are going to be out there, including David Curry, number 90. But a good job of Keene going north and south when he catches it to put this in a situation where they'll go for it. And this is a team that's 7 of 9 on 4th down. They have not been shy about going for it on 4th down.
No sign of the field goal unit. Hooker a look to the sideline. 7 on the play clock. 4th and 1. Hooker, first down, touchdown.
Touchdown, Virginia Tech.
They're making it look pretty easy.
Yeah, very similar play to what he scored on in the first quarter, only this time you use the back. Little kind of flash of the back out to the flat, which widens one defender. He has to go with him. Creates a blocking angle to get Hooker in the end zone, but really it's about that offensive line coming off the ball and pushing Georgia Tech into their own end zone.
2 touchdowns for Hooker. He's 5 for 7 in the air. Also has 2 touchdowns on his 5 carries. And Tariq Carpenter shaken up.
One of the more veteran players on his team, Tariq Carpenter. It's one of those guys you certainly you don't want to lose anybody, but you certainly don't want to lose the junior safety.
From Ludowici, Georgia. The 2nd leading tackler on the Jackets. Jeff Collins all the way out there with a headset on. I assume he detached the cable.
Now, there's no cable these days.
That's right. That's a good point.
It's all wireless nowadays, brother.
I'm still living in the 20th century, apparently. My headset has a cable on it.
You're right. It used to be where they took off. If you go ask Bud Foster, it's changed significantly. He used to take off running down the sideline, and all of a sudden something jerked him back the other direction because he was tied to a cable. He was one of the worst guys you could get off the cable. That was the only way they had him tethered.
Do they still have the telephone on the sideline, or is that a thing of the past too?
I think there's still a telephone down there, but I don't think it's available for just anybody to use. It's more of a bat phone there.
Right. Ryan Johnson's point after is perfect, as he's been on PATs all season long. Hendon Hooker racking up the numbers. 2 touchdowns in the first couple quarters today.
You guys talked about him earlier, wearing that number 90 today, David Curry, in honor of Brandon Adams. But not just one, 2 players wear the coveted jersey number today. That's right, offensive lineman Jared Suthers also honored wearing with that jersey number today. And so our Toyota Tweet of the Week comes in the form of Suthers showing gratitude for that. He said, Brandon Adams was the only guy guy that I knew when I first got to Tech. We love and miss him dearly. We try our best to honor him as he lives through all of us. And guys, today Georgia Tech continues to honor Brandon Adams with their first ever Big B clothing drive. It was held up until kickoff, and fans were encouraged to bring new or gently used clothing to the game. Donations, they were collected, and they were given to a charitable organization that Brandon Adams actually frequently donated to himself. Pretty special moment.
Yeah, great stuff, Abby. Georgia Tech had the pregame flyover courtesy of Lieutenant Timaeus Oliver, who was an aerospace engineering major. He was piloting an 18F Super Hornet. There was a rumor he tried to change the name of the plane to a Super Yellow Jacket.
Hornet's close enough. It works.
Return out to the 15, maybe the 16-yard line, and that's where Georgia Tech begins its fourth drive. You look at the numbers so far, David, and they're not pretty. Total yardage at the moment, Virginia Tech has 224. Georgia Tech has 27.
Yeah, and all you can do, there's no 21-point play out there for James Graham and his offense. You see the 4 punts have only run 17 play or run 12 plays on offense, but what you find is you've got to put one first down in front of the other. So right now they're just trying to get one first down.
Graham's going to throw, and he completes it to Howard. No pun intended when I say this, but how have you seen Virginia Tech's defense swarming around the Yellow Jackets?
Well, they've done a nice job of leveraging the ball, and frankly, they've made life difficult for James Graham in the fact they haven't given him anything clean. And he's having a tough time recognizing what Bud Foster's defense is doing. That's what he does to you. He disguises coverage. He disguises where pressure's coming from.
Marion Brown in motion. It's outside for Oliver. We were talking with Dave Patno, the offensive coordinator, and, they think so highly of Oliver as an athlete. They want to find him ways to touch the football. Nowhere to go there.
Well, watch Shamari Connor, number 9. He's actually blocked, maybe even held by the tight end Tyler Davis, but he plays off of all of that and makes the play on the screen. That was set up. You had numbers if you were Georgia Tech, but Connor was just a little bit better.
Hokies are blowing it up right now defensively. Just over 4 minutes gone here in the second quarter. And here's another third down try for Graham. Under pressure, but he runs away from the Hokies, and he's got the first down. And that's Georgia Tech's first down of the day.
But it's something James is going to have to lean on a little bit now. He is an outstanding athlete. See the offense, the Becton gets washed down to the inside. That's a freshman mistake by Becton, because the one thing they don't want Graham doing is they don't want him out of the pocket. They keep him in the pocket, make him beat him from there. They allowed the youngster to get out, and you see his athleticism.
That was Jalen Griffin getting the early pressure on James Graham there, unable to bring him down. Here's Jordan Mason up the middle. Pretty good run for him. It's an emotional day. You think Jalen Griffin was excited to try to pull down Graham there and make the first play of the day among the 3 Griffin brothers who are playing in this game. Jalen for the Hokies, and then you got Jaquan and Timaeus for the Jackets.
A good power run that time. Ripped off almost 10 yards, just short of the first down.
Graham keeps it and goes nowhere.
Too much penetration. Georgia Tech allowing a little bit too much penetration. It's okay to allow one defender to get through because you can influence him based on the play fake, but there's too many Hokies in the backfield, and Graham can't sort that out, and they drop him for a loss to force 3rd and 1.
Another tackle for Rayshard Ashby there, the junior from Chesterfield, Virginia. Dynamic backer. 105 tackles last year. He's closing in on 100 tackles this year. And in the wild jacket formation, that did not go well from the start. Snap through Jordan Mason's legs. Quick penetration from Divine Diablo, and the punting unit, you're on yet again.
Well, you ripped off a 9-yard run on first down, got a negative play on the second down, and then you snap the ball through the legs of, as you said, the wild jacket Jordan Mason. I mean, that's just a calamity of errors there on first, second, and third down.
And speaking of the calamity, add a flag to it.
False start. Offense, number 33. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
We're sitting down with Jeff Collins yesterday and piggybacking off what happened last week in Charlottesville, where they played really, really well against a good Virginia team. I think there was some genuine momentum coming home today. You got these 3 home games coming up. They resodded this middle third of the field, getting ready for this 3-game and 15-day stretch with NC State, Georgia coming in. And Virginia Tech has been a buzzsaw in this first half.
And Virginia Tech came in with a chip on their shoulder. They lost 3 straight. You mentioned it earlier. 3 straight to Georgia Tech. They were run out of their own building last year.
Pretty good punt by Harvin. You saw the motion before the snap, and he angled it well to the Jacket sideline. We'll take a break with 8:13 to go in the second quarter. Georgia Tech got a first down, but that's all they've got. North Carolina A&T, a MEAC Hall of Famer, and Hooker doing his dad proud. 2 touchdowns already today.
Well, we said he's going to affect the game both ways, and Justin Fuente said he needed to do that. He had to be able to throw the football, and then his ability to run the ball is going to be that X factor that'll help him. But he's been very accurate throwing the football. Got 2 rushing touchdowns on the day.
Certainly was at a crossroads this past offseason. Hooker, like a lot of players on the Hokies roster, put their name in the transfer portal. Hooker decided to stay. Deshaun McCleese decided to stay. And after a shaky start to the season, again, 50 days ago, that loss to Duke 7 weeks ago yesterday, and things have changed dramatically. They've reinvented themselves offensively. They found a quarterback in Hooker, Deshaun McCleese. 5-yard gain on first down here. He's played well. Things are clicking right now for Virginia Tech.
Yeah, they're playing at a high level. They came out with a purpose today. They've gotten off to a great start. Now they got to try to keep that momentum. That was a really nice run, a nice patience by McCleese. That's something we asked Hendon Hooker about. He says that's something he's really developed, is his patience running the football.
Hooker keeps it, throws it. James Mitchell has a lot of room to run. Across midfield and into Jackets territory for the sophomore tight end.
A little 2-way go here. They got a bootleg play on. And David Curry, number 90, gets caught back to the inside. Not sure he had him in man coverage, but certainly he was the closest defender that had a chance to potentially get on the play. But nice throw and catch.
33 yards on that one. And well, there's good defense from the Jackets. Hooker's pass batted down by Quez Jackson.
That's a good play by Quez Jackson. He's going to time it up and elevate and bat the football down. But if you think, you go back and look at the last play, the same type of play, just a bootleg off the zone read look out of the shotgun. And Georgia Tech did a much better job of defending that. Had he been able to get the ball past Jackson, it was well defended in coverage.
Dave, I wonder if in your NFL career you ever crossed paths with Quez's cousin Greg Lloyd, who was a 5-time Pro Bowler.
Unfortunately, with a lot of us that Greg Lloyd put the hat on.
Sorry to bring up those memories.
Yeah. Well, the fortunate thing for me is I spent most of my time in the NFC.
Right.
And he was in the AFC rushing the passer for the Pittsburgh Steelers, so you didn't have to worry about him but every 4 years. But a heck of a player.
3rd down and 9.
Well, it's a big moment here for Georgia Tech defensively, trying to win here on 3rd down, force Virginia Tech potentially off the field.
How many times have we said that in this first half? And the Jackets need to step up and make one of these plays if this is going to be a competitive last 2.5 quarters. There's a good play. Well timed on the coverage by Miles Sims. He got there exactly at the right spot to prevent Caleb Smith from making the catch.
Well, probably Hendon Hooker's worst throw of the day, too. It's high and behind the receiver, which kind of opens the door for Sims. But the freshman's going to come in and bat it down. Watch the ball placement here. This ball should be in the upfield number inside. See the ball behind and high. And that allows the corner who's trailing in Sims to come in and rake that ball out with the right arm, right hand.
Marion Brown standing at his 10, awaiting the punt from Bradburn. And that's Hokie special teams for you right there. Down inside the 36. Rayshard Ashby, the junior linebacker. Abby has more on Rayshard. Abby?
Well, and if you ask Bud Foster who a good representation would be of his lunch pail defense, it would be Rayshard Ashby, considering that Ashby has carried the lunch pail basically all season since about week 3 or 4, and his teammate Jared Hewitt spoke to that. He said he brings a workman mentality every day like I have never seen before.
Oh, yeah.
Graham throwing from his end zone. It's intercepted. Caleb Farley thinking 6. Touchdown for that Bud Foster defense, and it's Farley with a pick 6, 17-yard return.
Graham's pass intercepted by number 3.
Well, to hear the Virginia Tech people talk about Caleb Farley, they say he might be the best athlete on the team. Young corner that started from his very first game against Virginia Tech, or against Florida State as a freshman. This is his 6th career interception, his 4th this year, and he takes it all the way back. Just an ill-advised throw off his back foot out of the back of the end zone. Farley just waiting on it, fields it, puts it in the end zone.
Johnson tacks on the extra point. That throw right there, the decision to throw, looked like the Pittsburgh James Graham much more than the Virginia James Graham.
Well, you're going to get ebbs and flows with a young quarterback, especially when he's learning to play in the shotgun to throw the ball. But he's got pressure in his face. That ball's got to be thrown out of bounds. Cannot throw that ball back to the inside. And obviously, those are obvious things to say now that you see the results in return. But these are things that he has to learn from. He has to grow from. He can't make those mistakes. Especially, Evan, when you get in, as a quarterback play, when you begin to think about where am I on the field, places where I can't make mistakes. Now, you don't want to make a mistake anytime as a quarterback, but I don't want to take points off the board for me going in. And I certainly don't want to give a team a short field opportunity or a chance to score defensively in my own end of the field. So those are things the young kid will grow from. We had a fun time talking to him. I think he's an engaging kid. He's got a tremendous amount of talent, but he's got a long way to go to learn how to play quarterback at this level.
Jeff Collins was a bit of a broken record this week when asked about James Graham, talking about his preparation and how the best throws he made last week against Virginia were throws that he threw out of bounds, that he let them get to the next play. As you said, that last throw would have been better off going out of bounds.
Well, unfortunately, he just had a lot of attempts. He's a young kid that played, like I said, a couple of games a year ago. Only threw the ball, I think, 1 time a year ago. In fact, this whole quarterback crew that comes back, only 17 attempts from the 3 quarterbacks that have come back for Jeff Collins. So they're kind of learning by trial by fire, right? They're having to learn on the field how to play the position.
Certainly a very different story for Georgia Tech this year versus last year against Virginia Tech. Last year, the Georgia Tech offense had 465 rushing yards. This year, they have 11 with 5:51 to go in the second quarter. Back on offense, it's Amarian Brown with the catch, a short gain. Second down coming up, but first a quick word from Advance Auto Parts.
I can sign 12 autographs in 6 seconds. So
Ball spotted at the 29-yard line. And I'd be surprised if this was a running play unless it's a keeper, because there are 5 wides out there, and Jeff Collins showing confidence in the young QB.
Now look how many Virginia Tech players.
False start. Offense number 70. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
When you look at Virginia Tech defensively, and you want to spread them out, we talked about the 5 wides, make them declare a little bit more. But look how many Virginia Tech players are within 7 yards of the line of scrimmage. Everybody. And you got 2 guys up on either side of the line of scrimmage. It could be coming. Both safeties are up close. I mean, Bud Foster, you talk about playing with your mind. That's what that guy does. And all of a sudden, everybody will drop off or everybody will come. He's an amazing defensive coordinator, one of the best that's ever done.
Graham loses the football. Virginia Tech had a chance to pick it up. Deshaun Crawford forced it loose.
Garbutt had a chance for a scoop and score, and he drops the football. Number 45, Juwan Garbutt is the defensive end now. The ball gets striped out. Got to take care of the ball in traffic. If you're Graham, it's another thing you got to learn. But right there, Garbutt's got a scoop and score. And you talk about taking some grief from the film session on Monday. He's gonna get, he got stripped out of there, and give credit where credit's due. Connor Hansen stripped the ball out of there. But he's going to take some grief from his defensive brethren for not scooping and scoring right there.
Now it's 3rd and 29. Timaeus Griffin takes the handoff. And not a bad run, but that was not 29.
Tobias Griffin carries the football.
Again, Timaeus Griffin, one of the 3 Griffin brothers who are playing in this game. Timaeus, the youngest of the 3, a true freshman from Rome, Georgia. His brother, Jaquan, redshirt freshman, defensive lineman on the Georgia Tech defense. And we already talked about Jalen, the redshirt sophomore. There's a 4th Griffin brother, Jacolby, who's playing junior college baseball. And then there's one Griffin sister. She's in 8th grade, and apparently she's a rising star on the basketball court.
It looked like maybe a late hit or a targeting call along the Virginia Tech sideline on this return. Talked about how explosive Travion Robinson is, and he gets another positive return here. And yeah, helmet to helmet. Trying to look at the Georgia Tech player who was called for helmet to helmet there. It looked like number 10. That may be Christian Campbell, the defensive back, the senior DB. But that's certainly what they're looking at, I believe, is targeting. And it certainly looked like from our angle that we saw there was a dipping of the head and illegal hit.
During the return, personal foul, kicking team number 10, targeting, 15-yard penalty. The previous play is under further review.
So Georgia Tech has 8 seniors, 2 of which are grad transfers. One of those veteran seniors, Christian Campbell, and he might be done if this is confirmed.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any way you turn that around. Campbell just trying to get in and make the hit, and it's something they're trying to legislate out of the game, is the dipping of the head. It makes the defender as vulnerable as it does, maybe even more so than the guy is getting ready to hit. But Robinson certainly takes a helmet-to-helmet shot there. And Campbell, 43 games as a Yellow Jacket, and you talked about one of the more veteran players on this team, but I'm not sure how you change that call. Certainly helmet to helmet, and I think had he not dipped the helmet, you might have an argument, but because he dropped the crown of the helmet down, it looks like maybe the senior's done for the day.
Kelton Dawson, who's unavailable as well today with his arm around him. Jeff Collins is pleading his case.
Well, it's always tough, Evan, when the offensive player dips his head too, right? He's going to kind of scrunch up and protect himself, right? But as a defender, if you lead with the crown of the helmet, you're just not going to get a break on that.
After further review, the ruling is confirmed. Number 10 has been disqualified.
Christian Campbell, head of the locker room, targeting on Georgia Tech. And then Virginia Tech played in the first quarter and has run away with this thing early. And this is James Mitchell again down the sideline. And he'll take it inside the 10 for the Hokies. Charlie Thomas prevented another gigantic play for the touchdown.
Well, they're getting worn out on this 3-count screen. See, 1,000, 1,000, 2,003 release out in front, the offensive line. This time it's to the tight end. They've screened to the backs. Georgia Tech doing a really poor job of locating who's in coverage on the screening player, whether it's the back or the tight end. They've been blown up a couple times, maybe 3 times now in the 3-count screen.
The give inside to King to the 5.
King carries the football.
When you play a lot of man coverage, all you've got to do in the screen game is get the cover guy blocked, right? And that's what Virginia Tech has done a nice job of with their screens. They're luring in pass rush with the extra rusher and then dumping over the top of Georgia Tech's defense. The cover man for that screen guy nowhere to be found. And until Georgia Tech figures that out, they're going to get worn out with the screens, I would think, the remainder of the game.
And with the exception of the one time that you justifiably called out Hazleton, they've done a great job blocking downfield.
Absolutely.
2nd and goal. King hitting the backfield this time, and he'll get it back to the line of scrimmage. 3rd down as we tick under 2 minutes to play in the first half.
Well, we talked about the Griffin brothers, and I think Jaquan Griffin's going to get it right there. Got a piece of McLeese. That's slowed him down just a tad. And then Quez Jackson rallies to make the tackle. So good team defense there for Georgia Tech. And an opportunity. This is something if you start looking at things they've done well throughout the year, they've been backed up a ton of times in their own red zone, but they've done a pretty good job of getting off the field. About 50% of the time, they've kept teams out of the end zone.
On 3rd and goal. Looking to throw it back toward Hooker, and it is almost intercepted. Tariq Carpenter read it and broke it up.
Well, give Hooker the credit for breaking it up. This ball's going to be picked off by Carpenter. Watch Hendon Hooker play defense right here. This ball's intercepted, and Hooker comes in and strips Carpenter. So role reversal, quarterback playing DB, keeps that from being picked off and saves an opportunity for a field goal.
On for the field goal attempt for the Hokies, number 93, Brian.
There's Tavian Robinson on the throw. He's now 0 for 2 passing this year.
And I'm pretty sure he may not ever get a throw it again. That was a horrible decision to throw that one.
It's amazing. Quarterbacks make throwing the football look so easy when you see someone else do it.
Well, we've all thrown bad interceptions, but you'd rather have your quarterback doing it than your wide receiver.
22-yard field goal.
22-yard field goal from Brian Johnson to make it 31-0.
Virginia Tech.
Coming up next Saturday, we'll have another doubleheader on your regional sports network. Dave and I and Abby will be up in Charlottesville to see Virginia Tech's Commonwealth rival Virginia taking on Liberty. And then at 3:30, North Carolina, with that win, could become bowl eligible.
Yeah, excited to see Bryce Perkins and that Virginia team that has put themselves in position to win the Coastal. Got one game left, and it happens to be against the team of the other team in the Commonwealth, Virginia Tech.
And I should say North Carolina needs that win if they're going to be bowl eligible. They're now 4-6 after the overtime loss to Pittsburgh. NC State coming up 2 weeks from now for North Carolina.
That was a heck of a game between Pitt and the Tigers the other night. Just a fun watch. There's been a lot of really good football that have come down to the wire in the ACC this year.
It would be an emotional North Carolina-NC State game if they're both 5-6, needing the win to get to a bowl. Mac Brown's first year on the job. Oliver takes it to the 19. Georgia Tech offensively has just not gotten much going. I mean, Graham is 6 of 9 throwing the ball, but he doesn't have a whole lot of yards. He's carried the ball 6 times for 1 yard. And of course, he threw the pick 6.
Yeah, the pick 6 was a really bad decision. So now, as a young quarterback, what you're trying to do is get him to grow. Obviously, you're up against it a little bit here. This is an excellent defense, coached by one of the best that's ever done it. So how can I get better as a quarterback? That's what Graham should be concentrating on.
The emotions Howard out, and then tries to squeak past Norrell Pollard, and that's not happening. What was your first impression of Bud Foster?
A guy you wanted to have a beer with. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, he's that kind of guy. You want to go sit on the dock and fish with him, or get out in the boat and go fish and have a beer. I mean, he's a solid, just a guy's guy.
Have you been fortunate to have a beer with him?
I have not. I've not had a chance to do that. I'm hoping that when Bud steps away, and that's something he's looking forward to doing, is getting out in his boat and going fishing. He's got a place by the lake and doing that, and maybe having a beer or two. Probably not too many, just a couple. But yeah, Bud just a quality guy, and boy, his kids love him. I don't know. I've had the great pleasure of broadcasting Virginia Tech games over the last 10 years or so, and I have not heard one bad thing the kid has had to say about. They love the guy and what he means to them as that second father figure in a lot of their lives.
3rd and 9 with 39 seconds to go in the half. Timaeus Griffin, the freshman from Rome, needed 9 and got 8. Ashby with another tackle. Holyfield also there. And Virginia Tech takes the timeout to force Georgia Tech to punt it.
Let's take a look back on how Virginia Tech has built this 31-0 lead and got started early. Hendon Hooker on the opening drive was able to punch it in with the quarterback run. Georgia Tech tried to bow their back but couldn't get it done. It was explosive plays that put a lot of this in place. King, the freshman, punches one in after a long catch from Turner on the fade route, and then Hooker, his second rushing touchdown of the game, and then a back-breaking type play. James Graham, bad throw out of the end zone. Caleb Farley picks it off, and Farley's going to put it in the end zone. This lunch pail defense, that's what they do. That's the 95th scoring touchdown in the Bud Foster era.
How about that?
That's unbelievable.
Remarkable. Justin Fuente, he's kept it close to the vest as to who's going to replace him, because, you know, you never want to replace a legend, and Justin Fuente has some insight about replacing a legend.
No question about it. Nobody gets better than what Coach Beamer did at Virginia Tech, and that's tough to step into, but he's done a nice job, and he's got his team poised to play for some pretty special stuff this year.
Foster started at Virginia Tech in 1987 as the inside linebackers coach. Been there ever since after beginning his career at Murray State. This punt is going to roll all the way down to the 21-yard line. 19 seconds left in the half after a 51-yard punt from Harvin.
Well, tremendous performance by Virginia Tech in the first half on both sides of the ball, and this will be a kneel down, I would assume, by Hendon Hooker, and Virginia Tech will be very comfortable going to the half 31-0, and they have really made a statement. This is it. We talked to the coaches last night. Evan, you and I got a chance, and Abby got a chance to visit with Justin Fuente and Bud Foster. They were adamant about it. They weren't looking past Georgia Tech. They said, are you kidding me? This is a team that's beaten us 3 straight years. We're coming in with a chip on our shoulder. We want to take care of business.
Well, no matter how you look at the numbers, it's pretty good for Virginia Tech. The total yards in the half, 302 to 48. And under Justin Fuente, the Hokies are 22-3 under Fuente when scoring 30. They're 26-1 when leading at the half. The score's 31-zip. No matter how you look at it, the Hokies are in grand shape on the road in Atlanta today.
Well, the biggest challenge for Justin Fuente is to get his kids focused to play a second half, because they have completely dominated the first half of this football game. That'll be the first thing he's going to
see. An onside kick here? I mean, something to maybe get him going?
There's certainly a chance. But the big challenge, I talked about it at halftime before Abby talked to Justin, and he certainly reiterated, I think what I said was the fact that his biggest challenge, and when you got a young team, you cannot lose focus, because Georgia Tech has some explosive players now. A couple of scores, they climb back in this, they start thinking they can win the football game.
Brenton King on the kickoff. He is going to try the onside-er. And it was nearly recovered by the Jackets, but it looked like Virginia Tech's got it, and they do.
It almost looked like, and it was a great call by Jeff Collins. This is a good. Let's see if they touch this too early. This ball's got to go 10 before you can touch it, and it looked like maybe it was right at the 10-yard marker, but he certainly had an opportunity to recover it. And just could not get on top of the ball. Love the call by Jeff Collins. Hey,
why not?
Try to generate it. Good call. Evan Lepler with the call on the onside kick. He and Jeff Collins on the same wavelength. Tried it, but now they got to go play defense with half a field.
Just why not? If you recover, you get something going. If not, they start at the 50 instead of the 25. You don't want to think like this, but they've been carving up your defense anyway. Not that play, though. How about David Curry laying the lick? Jordan Dominic got there first. A few minutes ago, Abby LeVar caught up with Coach Jeff Collins.
Coach, what about this Virginia Tech defense has caused so much disruption for your offense to get into a rhythm?
Yeah, I mean, hey, they've got really good players. They're playing at a high level. We've got to get something going. Too many self-inflicted wounds out there. Defensively, we couldn't get a stop at the beginning of the game. Thought we put together a couple of good series, and now we just got to build off of that.
What's the key message to those guys in the locker rooms to keep the morale high?
They've got to do what we've done all season, keep getting better, continue to compete, put the ball down and play at a high level and play for each other and together.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Well, first couple plays to start the second half been pretty good for the defense. Jordan Dominic and Jaquan Griffin bring down Hooker there.
Those is back-to-back plays for Dominic. He's in on the first run play, and here he's going to get credit for part of the sack. Of course, Jaquan Griffin also will get a half a sack there as well, but they come out and played, kind of backed their coach up here. He went with an onside kick, and he's going to say, hey, they may get it. We're going to have half a field. You guys got to go play. And back-to-back plays, Georgia Tech's done that.
On 3rd and 21, Virginia Tech is going to have to punt for just the second time in the ball game. Beg your pardon, it'll be the 3rd punt for Bradburn.
Well, you look for things to hang your hat on if you're a coach, and your coach said, okay, we're going to onside kick here, and I need to know you guys, you need to know that you're probably going to be on a half a field if we don't get it. You got to respond. Defensively, they responded.
Bradburn, number 3 in the nation in average punt distance, plants this one inside the 10.
Bradburn's punt marked down around the 12-yard line.
2 minutes gone in this 3rd quarter. Georgia Tech set to begin its first drive of the second half. Time for today's Aflac Trivia Quiz. You're looking at Bud Foster. And we wonder who was Virginia Tech's co-offensive coordinator, co-defensive coordinator, excuse me, with Bud 1995. It's a good question.
Wow. That is a good question. Well, the diehard Hokie fans will know that one.
Get to that answer in a bit. Here's Jordan Mason. First half, Dave, Georgia Tech had 1 first down. They averaged 1.9 yards per play.
Tackle made by Crawford.
What, if anything, can they change, or is it simply better execution? I mean, that seems pretty simple.
Well, Brent Key, who's their offensive line coach, is a really good one, and I can tell you he challenged this offensive line because they didn't play at a very high level in the first half. That's where it has to start. They've got to block the Hokies for them to be able to do anything schematically.
Dylan Devaney, the tight end, across the middle, brought down by Holyfield. But that's a Georgia Tech first down, just their 2nd of the day.
Yeah, good quick read here by Graham. Straight up the field as Devaney, the tight end, gets his head around right away. Graham's going to take a big shot as he lets it go. But just a good job of standing in there as the young kid making a good throw for first down.
Ashby delivered the lick on Graham. 1st and 10. Graham hit as he throws. Ball up in the air like a fair catch. Holyfield intercepts it. And the Hokies take over on another Graham pick.
By number 4, Max Holyfield.
Well, just a massive hit as he's trying to get it out. I thought they were going to call holding originally. See the pass rush coming off the left side. Looked like there might have been a hold there, but he fought through that.
Manuel Belmar brought the pressure. He had his first sack of the season last week against Wake.
Well, it's a crushing blow. Does not allow the arm to come through. And then, of course, Holyfield catches the wounded duck in the air to set up a golden opportunity for the Virginia Tech offense.
3rd straight game that Dax Holyfield has had an interception. This defense is playing well. They'll be hosting another pretty good defense, coached by Pat Narduzzi with Pittsburgh next week. And then the game against Virginia.
It's a good play. David Curry, the linebacker. You know, how do you guys respond when you're challenged or your pride might be at stake? This defense, now that's 4 straight downs for the defense where they have given up absolutely nothing. David Curry, outstanding linebacker, the junior. His father was an outstanding player for the Atlanta Falcons here. In fact, we were teammates, leading tackler 7 straight years for the Falcons, and kind of chip off the old block is David.
McLeese breaks it outside. Wanye Thomas, who was shaken up early in the game, but came back and brings down McLeese at the 11. It'll be 3rd and 2.
I tried to kid with David yesterday. We had a chance to talk to him. I said, you know what? You're a lot better athlete than your dad was. You know, just trying to throw a punch. He goes, different era, you know. So,
I mean, Curry's a guy who's dealt with injuries, and it's just great to see him on the field. Virginia Tech back in the CPI security red zone for the 5th time today. On 3rd and short, McLeese up the middle will set up a 1st and goal from the 7.
Yeah, Pretty athletic family, too, the Curry family. Talked about Buddy, but his daughter, Gabby, is an outstanding volleyball player at the University of Kentucky. Jessel played linebacker. The second son in the group played linebacker at Auburn. And, of course, David here, really athletic family.
See if Curry can make a play. That throw to a wide open man. It's James Mitchell for the touchdown.
Hooker's pass complete for the Virginia Tech touchdown to number 82.
Let's take a look here in coverage, and it looked like maybe Tariq Carpenter got a little bit lost in coverage. We saw Thomas up as well. Get caught peeking in the backfield in the run game. That's the tough part about that play action stuff, is if you get caught peeking, all it takes is a step for a receiver to get behind you. Good read and throw from Hendon Hooker.
Second receiving score for Mitchell.
10-14 to go.
He's had 3 rushing touchdowns, including one last week against Wake Forest.
Georgia Tech 0.
Virginia Tech playing its best football of the season here in the month of November. That's a good sign for Hokie Nation. Only once before today have the Hokies scored more points against the Jackets. They got 38. They had 51 back in 05. Our Yellowwood 5-star drive summary featuring James Mitchell. And for more on Mitchell, we sent it down to the field with Abby.
Well, I talked with Mitchell earlier this week, and he said his role model is actually Jason Witten. And why not just because he's a great tight end, but because he has local ties. Witten actually attended Elizabethton High School, which is right down the road from where Mitchell grew up. And guys, how about this? He hasn't met Jason Witten before. However, he did play against his brother, who was the head coach at Elizabethton High School. His brother coached his high school team, and so when they were in high school, they played against him as a coach.
That's pretty cool. Obviously, Jason Witten has spent time in the broadcast booth, Dave, like you and me, and now he's back on the field for the Cowboys.
Yeah, he's played well for Dak Prescott coming back. Mitchell was just, and Mitchell, all he did last year was a special teams player. I mean, he played 13 games for Virginia Tech, but didn't catch any passes. He's just played on special teams, so he's really kind of burst on the scene as a tight end.
James Graham just trying to throw this one out of bounds, and he does. I'm pretty sure you're fully retired. Do you still have the itch like Jason to get out of the booth and back onto the field?
They don't have enough money for me to be out there anymore. No. There's a lot of big, fast guys that want to nail you. So, no. I'm much more comfortable up here with you.
Do you have a number in mind, or?
Yeah, I have a number in mind. Sure. I think we all have a number in mind that gets back out there.
Sure, you can still zing it, but it's the mobility and the ability to absorb a hit.
Yeah, if I could stay in the shotgun and throw intermediate passes, I'd be fine.
James Graham under pressure, and you don't want to run into Javon Becton, 6'4", 255. He brings him down to the backfield. Let's revisit our Aflac trivia quiz having to do with Bud Foster. The legendary Hokies coach Rod Sharpless is the man who was the co-DC along with Bud in 1995.
Ball on the 22.
Well, I mean, I don't know a lot about Rod Sharpless. I know a lot about that guy right there. And I know his team has played at the highest possible level today, and they're really setting the table for maybe a nice stretch run here with a couple of games left. You mentioned Pitt and Virginia coming up.
It is he throws, and Graham fires incomplete on third down. So the punt unit returns to the field.
Yeah, there's too many long yardage situations for Georgia Tech. Give Virginia Tech a ton of credit for being as successful as they've been on first and second down, and really have forced the hand from a play call standpoint, putting Graham in that shotgun situation where he's dropping to throw every down.
Returnable. Here comes Robinson. Makes a man miss, trying to cross the field, and he ran a long way but did not gain very much. 53-yard punt. He gained 9 on the return, and Virginia Tech looking to get to 7 and
Nova's greatness made here is that exactly throughout the game, military members and first responders have been recognized in honor of their service to our country. And guys, Coach Collins said this is a special day for him and his team because being a great teammate is giving yourself to the betterment of others. And he preaches that to his team, and he says that's what these heroes do. They do it on a daily basis. So we have a huge amount of respect as a program for everyone that does those things and plays those roles. So great to see all those people being honored here today.
Yeah, it's a cool deal that they do here, and Jeff Collins deserves a ton of credit for that as well, and in honoring those that have put themselves on the line for our freedoms, no question about it. Neat to see a lot of those people back here today.
Dave, Hendon Hooker is out, and Quincy Patterson II is in. And that's the Patterson play. Remember, he came in one play in the first half when Hendon Hooker was shaken up. And in the first half on his one carry, he ran for 14. It was Veterans Day earlier this week when Justin Fuente was given his weekly press conference, and he gave one special shout-out of thank you to a veteran named Strat Tolson, World War II Korean War vet, who happens to be Fuente's 97-year-old grandfather, living in Pawhuska, Oklahoma. Fuente joked that he owns the only Hokie flag in Pawhuska, small town Oklahoma. He says he lives and dies with every Hokies game, still married to Justin's grandmother, who's 92. And if they're out there watching in Pawhuska right now, we send them our best.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for your service.
We asked Justin Fuente which college football team he grew up rooting for, and he said, well, his mom went to Oklahoma, his dad went to Oklahoma State, then transferred to Tulsa, and they grew up in Tulsa. So he said he just appreciated good football. He loved watching football. He did admit that it was pretty cool watching Barry Sanders play in Stillwater.
Yeah, pretty good football in that area, no question. But those three schools, and namely Oklahoma State and Oklahoma, that must have been a pretty tough household when Bedlam happened that last weekend of the season when Oklahoma State and the Sooners got together.
2nd and 7.
2nd down and 7. Patterson zips it outside. Hezekiah Grimsley with the catch.
These are important snaps now for Patterson, Quincy Patterson. Quincy started the Notre Dame game, and he was only 9 of 28. He didn't throw a touchdown in the game. We talked about he ran for 77 yards in that game, and that was a game that Virginia Tech had a chance to win. It was a late drive by Ian Book and a couple of 4th down conversions that allowed Notre Dame to win against a really stout Virginia Tech defense in a really close game, 21-20. But Patterson played in that game. Here's an opportunity here in the second half for Patterson to improve his game.
Obviously scored the game-winning 2-point try in overtime number 6 in that wild game at Lane Stadium against North Carolina. 4th down coming up. First, a quick word from Works.
Works Dryvac 3-in-1 Easy Switch from Blow to Vac is a game changer and a time saver. Your yard work champion.
Patterson to the sideline, and another injured Jacket. Long way to go, quarter and a half almost, but you got to go back to 1997 to find the last time that Georgia Tech did not score in a football game. 283 games scoring at least a point. We'll see if they can make something happen here offensively. The Florida Gators are at the top of the list for the longest streaks without being shut out. TCU, the Hokies, certainly represented themselves well on the list and here today. Well, just like Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech has made a change at the quarterback position, and this is the freshman from Alpharetta, Jordan Yates, the nephew of former North Carolina quarterback P.J. Yates, who was a 4-year starter in Chapel Hill, the all-time leader in passing for the Tar Heels, and 7-year NFL veteran.
Yeah, TJ had a nice career at North Carolina. Went to local high school, Pope High School, did TJ.
His first action of the season. Freshman from Alpharetta. The 3-year starter at Milton High School, 6 feet tall, 200 pounds. It's late in the year. Georgia Tech knows they've only got a couple games left, so they can play him here without burning the shirt. One of the rule changes in college football to enable players to suit up for 4 games and play in 4 games without burning the red shirt.
Yeah, great opportunity for him to get some good plays, but he's got to have guys step up around him. Here's Tobias Oliver, who used to play quarterback. In fact, started the first 3 games at quarterback. Now at receiver, got to catch that football. Ball goes right through his hands. It's ironic that Tobias Oliver, who had 215 yards rushing in this game a year ago and 3 touchdowns.
That was his first career start.
Now playing in the slot as a wide receiver.
That was a magical day for Tobias in Blacksburg. Georgia Tech offense then led by Paul Johnson. Now Dave Patino, the OC for Jeff Collins. Yates steps up, pulls it down, and meets college contact in the form of 3 Hokie defenders, Ashby and Hewitt among them.
Well, the fans here a little restless, wanted them to go for it there on their own 28-yard line, but you got to, if you're Jeff Collins, you're going to try to play this somewhat by decorum. It's not a video game, so you got to punt the football here.
We do know that fake punts are a huge part of Jeff Collins' DNA. Harvin threw a dime down the sideline to Cottrell, the gunner against Miami, for a ridiculously awesome touchdown. And this would be a pretty good punt to pin them inside the 15 spot of the 13-yard line. Jeff Collins said that a year ago at Temple, they ran 7 fake punts and were successful with 6 of them. And he said they, a week ago, had more fake punts in the game plan than they had actual punts. As you look at the numbers of Graham, much more reminiscent of what we saw 2 weeks ago against Pitt compared to how he progressed last week against Virginia.
Well, this was a tough scenario now, and not saying Virginia's defense is not difficult as well. You can see the emotion on James's face there. He obviously wants to finish the game. He started it, he wants to finish it, but he won't get that opportunity. But he's a young, a talented kid. Just got to continue to fight at it, get better.
Keyshawn King accelerates to the sideline where Carpenter pushes him out.
And frankly, he didn't get a lot of help either. To be honest with you, there was not a lot of help up front. Didn't give James Graham a ton of opportunities to make the plays that he made a week ago against Virginia, and weren't a lot of plays made on the perimeter for him either. So he wasn't the only one. He'll get credit for the loss and the interceptions, but he wasn't the only one that struggled offensively.
Patterson took a look, but he had given the ball away to King. Another tackle for Quez Jackson. As we tick under 4 minutes to play in the 3rd quarter, Virginia Tech has 2 monster games ahead of them. Although with a win today, and Justin Fuente certainly won't think this way, they could lose to Pittsburgh, but still bounce back and beat Virginia for the Coastal title. Patterson to throw. Wide open down the sideline, complete. Keyshawn King. And he'll go inside the 15-yard line for another chunk play for the Hokies offense.
Back out of the backfield, King going to slip up the sideline. Looked like he might have drawn the linebacker in coverage. It's a little wheel route down the sideline, and he just gets lost. It looks like Dominic might have been in coverage with the defensive end dropping off to take the back, but how about that throw right there from Patterson? Talk about a frozen rope.
64 yards. The longest pass of Patterson's young career.
The youngster Demetrius Knight, the young linebacker they're so excited about. Let's take a look at this. See the wheel route, going to slip up the sideline. Corner runs with the outside receiver, so that means the outside linebacker and or defensive end in this situation. They were expecting Dominic. That's a tough matchup for him at 230 pounds to be running down the sidelines with King, who's about 185 and has big-time speed. But I'm really impressed with the throw there by Patterson. Put it right on him, streaking down the sideline.
We were talking to Jeff Collins yesterday about Demetrius Knight. We asked him which of the many, many freshmen that you have are the guys that are going to be the great leaders for this team 2-3 years down the road. And Knight was one of the first names he mentioned. He was a star QB in high school, came to Georgia Tech, willing to do whatever the team asked of him. And he's had a couple moments. He forced the fumble early against Miami that Jaquan Griffin recovered for the first Georgia Tech touchdown down in Florida.
Yeah, Locust Grove, Georgia, with the Stone Rock Christian High School, and he was a kid that, as you mentioned, Evan, played quarterback, and he ran and threw for 1,000 yards his last year there, so kid could really get it done.
Clock back running. We'll go under 3 minutes here momentarily. Patterson in relief of Hooker. Bursts inside the 10 to the 7.
Really taking his time with this straight ahead run power play, quarterback power. Just kind of holds holes and then finds that crease. Very patient, no penetration from Georgia Tech up front, which allows him to be able to do that.
And you said Patterson acquitted himself well in South Bend in his first career start. That was about 90 minutes from his childhood home. He grew up in Chicago.
Well, they had every opportunity to beat the Irish that day. I know that was a heartbreaking loss. Ian Book scores late in the football game to put Notre Dame over the top to win that game.
Couple fourth downs. The Irish converted on that last game-winning drive, too. Patterson floats it to the end zone looking for Smith. And a flag is out.
It looked like offensive pass interference to me. They're going to call a hold on Georgia Tech, but looked like Patterson pushed off.
Avery Shoel in the coverage.
Pass interference, defense, number 13. Foul occurred at the end zone. Ball replaced at the 2-yard line. Automatic first down.
Yeah, I don't know that I like this call. Watch for the push-off late here. Shoel kind of in the hip pocket here. Let's see if we'll see it late. Can't really see it there on that angle. I thought that Patterson pushed with the left hand. See him extend the left hand, trying to hold Shoel off.
First and goal, ball on the 2.
Not so sure that that's just normal hand fighting, and there shouldn't be any call on that.
Up the middle and into the end zone goes Quincy Patterson. He's a bulldozer of a quarterback.
Well, 245, 250 pounds. He's going to be tough to bring down when he gets that head of steam. And this is something that Justin Fuente's offense has always had, is that quarterback power coming downhill with a big quarterback, and he shoves it in the end zone.
And the most lopsided game ever played between these two teams was back in 2005 when the Hokies were ranked 4 in the nation and won 51-7. We still got 17 minutes to play, and the history books may be rewritten today in terms of this Tecmo Bowl rivalry. Hokies fans are enjoying it.
Yeah, there's a ton of Hokie fans that have come, either lives here in Atlanta or come from here close or made the run down from Blacksburg and the area around Blacksburg, Virginia. It's about a 6-hour drive or so down from Blacksburg to Atlanta, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Wondering how many gobbler costumes are in that Hokie crowd. They've got a passionate crew here at Bobby Dodd.
I want to know how many turkey legs are in that crowd. I wonder how many people brought their turkey legs down.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 at least. They look warm.
You ever had the turkey leg at Lake Stadium?
I've not.
Oh.
Heard good things though.
Yeah, one of the great places in college football, Lane Stadium in Blacksburg, Virginia. And they will be cranked up next week with the Pitt Panthers coming to town.
The regular season home finale. Oliver, that didn't go very well. He had struggled to pick it up, and he got walloped, kept his feet, and he barely gets it back to the 10. Check out this contact.
I think that's Luke Johns, the redshirt freshman defensive tackle on kickoff coverage unit. But what a shot.
Buck 59 to play in the third. Second series for Jordan Yates. Begins from his 10. He'll fake the handoff and not get very far. Khalil Ladler. Dave, I was rewatching the 6 overtime game that Virginia Tech played, and the plays that Ladler made late in that game, he was all over the place and limiting Sam Howell and the Tar Heels in those overtimes.
Versatile guy, small guy now. You're talking about a guy that's going to plays in the secondary, but he also plays up in the box. And he's only 5'11", about 195 pounds. He had 12 tackles in this game against Georgia Tech a year ago.
Christian Malloy with his first carry as a Yellow Jacket. Scurries to the left, out of bounds. Right at the 17-yard line. Will be 3rd and 3.
Now, one thing you do get, no matter how many substitutions Bud Foster makes on his defensive side of the football, they're going to continue to hit. And they are doing that. That man right there, you could argue maybe the best that's ever done it on the defensive side of the football. The numbers would certainly say that.
And the narrative is going to be, after a magical, perfect script last weekend, and with the defense, who knows, 15 minutes away from a shutout here on the road. First time the Jackets would be shut out in 22 years. There's a narrative building here for this Bud Foster final season as they come down the stretch with 2 big games, Pittsburgh and Virginia ahead. Got to deal with Kenny Pickett and then Bryce Perkins.
Well, there's no question that regardless of what happened this year, his legacy is cemented. Is arguably the greatest defensive coordinator in college football history. But it certainly would be a storybook ending if they can finish it the way they're talking about finishing it.
From the 20-yard line, Tavion Robinson takes it to about the 39.
Robinson returns the punt to the 40-yard line. Flag on the play.
There is a flag.
Yeah, up in that area where you sometimes get a defensive hold or on the return, or was somebody offside?
Personal foul, roughing the snapper, receiving team, number 38, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
One of those areas they emphasize and have begun to, as they continue to try to improve the safety in the game. The snapper is kind of a no-no. You're not supposed to hit the snapper. They're in a very vulnerable situation with their head down, so you're not allowed to come in and blow the center up. That used to be the way special teams coordinators tried to fashion kicks or block kicks.
Cade Long is the long snapper.
Yeah, see, his head's down and you just can't make contact with him. Got to wait till he gets his head up before he can begin to block him. So
Georgia Tech keeps the ball as a result of that penalty. So another chance for Yates. The Jackets sideline was celebrating. They haven't had a whole lot to celebrate today, so they got excited, trying to maintain some enthusiasm over there. Yates to throw. The tight end, Devaney.
To number 83, Dylan Devaney.
Yates' first completion as a member of this Georgia Tech team.
A 3-year starter. You mentioned Milton High School here in North Georgia, North Atlanta. Threw for over 4,000 yards, ran for almost 2,000 yards as a quarterback as a 3-year starter at Milton.
That'll do it for the third quarter. Virginia Tech 45, Georgia Tech 0. Today you see the disparity. They've held Georgia Tech's offense to 79 total yards. This has been a matchup that has been very competitive over the past decade and a half, Dave, and not so much today.
No, this has been owned by Virginia Tech. They have subbed across the board. A number of their second-team players are in the game, as has Georgia Tech.
Yates under pressure. Shows some escapability until he's brought down by Alan Tisdale.
Yates sacked in the backfield by number 34.
Again, it's immediate pressure through the middle. Just a quick win to the middle of the field, and I'm not sure what was going on up front. Georgia Tech kind of turned The defender loose through the middle, looked like Pollard maybe through the middle, initially won. And of course Tisdale was going to get credit for the tackle, but it was immediately pressure in Yates' face. Didn't have much of a chance there.
Third and 12. Georgia Tech has just 3 first downs in the first 3 quarters today. Yates under pressure again, gets rid of it, and hits Malachi Carter, who makes a man miss, breaks a tackle, and will move the chains. That's as good of a play as Georgia Tech has had today.
Well, Monty Chapman they get exactly what they want. Bud Foster's going to continue to come with pressure. Both linebackers coming. Good decision by Yates to hit the shallow crossing route. Now Chapman make the tackle and you get off the field. And that's the way this defense has always been made. Make you throw the ball short, make the tackle. But Malachi Carter, how about the run through the tackle to pick up the first down? A lot of want to in that young man.
17 yards on the run from Carter after the catch, and that is Georgia Tech's longest play of the day, and they'll lose a few on the next one. Christian Malloy brought down by Holyfield.
Well, Dax Holyfield has been all over the field today as a number of the second-level defenders, but here he is just on a run-through by the linebacker on the stretch play. Nobody there to put a hat on him.
Second down is 17 on the 40-yard line.
There's an interception today.
So a loss of 7 on the carry by Malloy, and now 5 wideouts for Yates. Pressure coming. Scrambles right. Hits the underneath release valve. Adonicus Sanders across midfield to the Hokies 47.
And that's a nice job by Yates. Gets out of the pocket, got some pressure off the edge, showed his athleticism, and then a good accurate throw to the flat to make this a very manageable third down situation. That's a very cerebral play for a young kid that hadn't gotten to play very much. Does a nice job of understanding, hey, let me get the ball out, get it to one of my guys, and we'll line up again on third down, try to convert.
With this Georgia Tech team and its first-year head coach, you just wonder how things are going to progress. Obviously, it's a massive transformation from what they did in the past under Paul Johnson offensively. Triple option to the pro spread, and Alan Tisdale nearly had a pick 6 of his own.
Well, this defense is so well versed. They know that if they're turned loose up front, look how quickly they get in the backfield. Then he realizes, Tisdale realizes, okay, something's going on behind me. They're letting me come. So he elevates, he realizes he slow plays it, he realizes screen behind him. They're so well versed, so well taught by Bud Foster and the defensive staff to understand, okay, why is something happening to me? Tisdale recognized that, elevated, batted the ball down.
Jackets are 2 of 13 on third down. This will be their first 4th down try of the day. Yates to throw, pressure coming, he escapes, and he comes very close to the first down marker. I thought he got it, but they spotted him maybe a half-yard shy. Virginia Tech thinks it's Hokie football.
Well, it's a heck of an effort by Yates because, again, immediate pressure, and Bud Foster has not let off the accelerator. Even though he's got a bunch of his second team, third team guys in the game, they're still bringing pressure.
You know what Jeff Collins thinks.
Yeah, let's take a look here. Here comes the pressure. Dax Holyfield coming on the pressure. Yates trying to get to that marker. Oh, and he can't tell now, where does the knee come down? Certainly the ball looks like it crossed that line. And I would think this is going to be something they'll look at from a...
You see the Griffin brothers right there at the bottom of your screen?
They will...
Turnover on downs, Virginia Tech ball.
Wow. Jalen Griffin's defense wins that battle. Hokie. But from a couple looks during the break, we think the call is going to stand.
Well, I think it's an accurate call, too. I don't know that it is going to stand, but I think it's an accurate call, too. Yates' knee touches down right around the 45-yard line, and he's shy of the line of game.
After further review, the runner got the ball just beyond the 43-yard line, resulting in a first down for Georgia Tech.
Wow. We've seen all through the year. Watch the knee come down. Now, this is a severe angle, right? It's not right down the line. Knee down right there. I mean, he's nowhere near the 43-yard line.
That's as baffling as we've ever seen.
Yeah, I've seen him kind of stick with ones. You thought, okay, well, that's you think they'll switch that? That's crazy there, especially the angle they had. There was no angle on it, but good for Yates and a heck of an effort by the young man to get the first down.
So the Yellow Jackets keep it, and welcome to college football, Jordan Yates. Alan Tisdale would like to make your acquaintance.
Well, Tisdale's a redshirt freshman too, so these two guys are going to see each other for a while now. Got a young quarterback and a young linebacker, and he's introduced himself a couple times to Yates. If I'm back in the huddle, or if I'm standing near somebody that can help me block, I'm going to say, can we get a hat on 34?
Tisdale's second sack of the year. His first was against Rhode Island, so this is his first ACC sack. And they are piling up today. To the flat. Hokies defense. Again, I used this word earlier, and it's a Georgia Tech word, but they've been swarming all game long. I mean, to the football, they've covered the full width of the field well, and Georgia Tech hasn't been able to take them over the top.
Well, one of their featured things is leverage the ball. They want to have guys on the outside, inside, and a lot of hats thrown into the football. That's what Bud Foster's preached for years. That's the lunch pail mentality, that nobody's bigger than the team, and all of them are trying to get to the ball.
Here's a deep shot down the sideline, and nothing doing. Intended for P.J. Harris. Another guy getting an opportunity here late in this game.
I like Yates', he's got a little swagger about him. Even though he hadn't had a ton of success here, he's coming here with a lot of poise. And he's trying to direct traffic, getting the signs from the sideline. He's changed a few things at the line of scrimmage. He's getting all the looks Bud Foster normally throws at people. Just it's a different group of guys. They're coming again. Look at the safety getting ready to come from the 40-yard line. Now they're going to back out of it. They called off the blitz. It's going to come from the other side.
Here comes Yates. Got away from the first man, but not another. And that's Virginia Tech's fourth sack of the game. Deshaun Crawford with his second of the year. Turnover on downs as Crawford, last week's ACC line.
Cool, Jaquan and Timaeus playing for Georgia Tech, and then Jalen in the maroon and orange in the back is just as cool as well. But get this isn't the only sweatshirt that they made. 50 family and friends from Rome, Georgia are here in attendance to support the brothers, and they are all sporting those awesome sweatshirts here today. How about that?
That's so cool. Tim Griffin boys is the text across the top. That's a snazzy shirt. Abby, do you get to keep that?
Oh.
She's just laughing as she runs to the door with the shirt. But no, it's the Griffin boys from just up the road. A couple hours up the road to Rome, or in Rome, Georgia, and 3 straight titles that they won in high school, at Rome High School. And
how about that? The maroon sleeve on one side, the navy sleeve on the other, supporting them Griffin boys. One Hokie and a couple Yellow Jackets. We saw Timaeus and Jalen interact on the field during a spot of a 4th down call earlier. This is Caleb Stewart. 9 carries on the season for Stewart coming into today, the redshirt freshman from Jacksonville. Of course, next Saturday, Liberty at Virginia at noon, and then at 3:30, Mercer at North Carolina. Be interesting to see how Virginia goes about its business next week. Their precursor to trying to snap this endless losing streak that Hokie fans are hoping continues, because either Virginia is going to go to the ACC championship game, Dave, or the Hokies are going to beat the Cavaliers
outside
for the 16th year in a row.
52 jumped into the neutral zone, causing the offense to react. 5-yard penalty, first down.
See, I don't agree with this call either. Neutral zone means you break the plane of the ball. That's the neutral zone. He's not in the neutral zone. He didn't jump across the line of scrimmage. He moved on his side of the ball, and the offensive linemen are taught to come off because it's going to get the penalty, but I'm not sure that he ever got into the neutral zone.
Engel guilty of the 5-yard penalty, at least in the officials' eyes. And here's Stewart maintaining his balance down the sideline. He steps out of bounds, though. It'll be marked at the 9, 1st and goal, Virginia Tech.
You know, you heard Justin Fuente talk about how young they are, and they are young. A ton of players that are just young players. It's a redshirt freshman. Evan mentioned from Jacksonville, Florida, Ed White High School. Had just under 1,000 yards rushing last year, 9 touchdowns. Another talented kid carrying the football, getting an opportunity here late in the game. But this is a young core of Hokies that, I mean, they're driving towards trying to win the Coastal, and boy, there's a good bunch of these kids that are going to be back doing it again for Justin Fuente next year.
Up the middle, Stewart met by Curry. He's still playing hard.
Yeah, you're not going to keep David Curry from playing as hard as he could possibly play. It's a kid that wearing the number 90 we talked about, Brandon Adams, and tragically was lost back on March 23rd. And just a freak scenario where he was step dancing at a local fraternity, and next thing you know, he was out, and they just didn't make it. But 33 games did Brandon Adams play as a defensive tackle here at Georgia Tech. They loved him. They're honoring him with the number 90.
Quincy Patterson looking for the 5th rushing touchdown of the game for the Hokies. Hooker ran it in twice, Keyshawn King once, and Patterson once. It's been a balanced effort in the running game, and a Hokie is shaken up after the play. Backup tight end Drake DeLulis getting looked at. Well, Virginia Tech as they try to hang half 100 on Georgia Tech. Quincy Patterson not going to make it to the end zone. It'll be 4th down as we play under 7 minutes to go in the 4th.
Chimenza gets really good penetration early. Talked about young players playing this game. TK Chimenza did a good job of penetrating there immediately and kind of cut Patterson off and forced this 4th down play.
Justin Fuente is not going to kick a field goal here.
No, he shouldn't try to kick a field goal. That would be unsportsmanlike to do something like that. So he'll let his young quarterback try to pound one in.
Grimsley in motion. Patterson going to be held up shy of the goal line. And the Georgia Tech sideline celebrates.
And I like the call, too. Wasn't a gimmicky call by Justin Fuente here. Said, you know what, we're just going to line up. If you can stop my quarterback, then you're going to get us off the field. He didn't run the jet sweep or anything like that. So we're just come straight ahead. That would be the next best thing to taking a knee, actually, is what Justin Fuente just did there.
7 tackles in the game now for David Curry. Chamari Connor leading Virginia Tech in tackles with 7. Of course, Caleb Farley had the pick 6 for the Hokies defense, and now the real suspense here, Dave, is whether or not the Hokies can finish off the shutout, which I believe would be the 35th shutout for Bud Foster as defensive coordinator. This is Yates. He's been slippery, but his helmet came off there, and he might have to leave the field for a play. Since 2000, only Alabama has shut out more opponents than Virginia Tech. And Georgia Tech has not been shut out since 1997. We showed you the graphic earlier. They're among the top 10 teams in the country in terms of longest streaks, scoring at least a couple of points. And earlier this year, it was a couple of points that prevented them from getting shut out against Jeff Collins' old team Temple. They got a safety and nothing else.
Yeah, in a strange twist here, James Graham back on the field as quarterback. I thought Yates played pretty well, performed pretty well in there.
Yates just had his helmet knocked off on that last play, so they give up the middle and a big first down run for Malloy.
See if they keep James in the game or if Yates gets to come back in the game. Just straight ahead. Really good job up front by Georgia Tech. Good job in the second level by Georgia Tech to get on blocks. William Lay, the center, got up the field, got a nice block on Tisdale, the linebacker, to create that crease in there for Malloy. Graham will stay in at quarterback.
Graham today 7 of 14 for 43 yards. He did throw 2 interceptions, one of which was returned by Farley for 6. Goes to the air and fires incomplete, intended for P.J. Harris.
Now, one of the Griffin boys is
there is a flag in the backfield, excuse me.
Yeah, one of the Griffin boys, because of that flag, is going to get his name.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, defense number 41. 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
Jalen Griffin, he hadn't had his name called yet, and so he got his name called. He got the illegal hit on the quarterback.
There was a great piece in the Journal-Constitution today about the 3 Griffin brothers, and they asked the mom who's she rooting for, and her answer, I'm rooting for Tech, which is a really good answer.
Yeah, you can't go wrong there.
As Abby said, about 50 family members, friends, teachers, coaches. Dad had 70 of those shirts printed. What a cool thing that is. And they'll have a few more of these because Jalen's the oldest of the 3, and he's just a redshirt sophomore. In the same division, these 2 teams will continue to play. They've played every year since the ACC split into divisions in the mid-2000s. This is the 16th year in a row that Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech have played in the regular season. And in none of those previous 16 meetings did we see anything quite like this.
Jordan Yates back in the game at quarterback.
Yates fakes the pitch, shows the speed, and was just tripped up by the shoelaces there.
Jordan Yates carries the ball.
Irie Rogers with the tackle.
Just a good job by Jordan Yates to read the option. Looking for an edge defender, nobody showed up, so you hang on to it as the quarterback, and just a good run there on the option play.
3 3/4 minutes remaining. Can Georgia Tech get points? Yates able to flip it right as he was getting dragged down. Gain some yardage. Question for you, Dave. After this game and what we've seen from Virginia Tech over the past 7 weeks, do they become the favorite in this division in your mind over the next couple of weeks? Do you expect them to meet Clemson in Charlotte that first Saturday in December?
I think Pitt's playing really well. Pickett's playing well at the quarterback position. He's not turning the ball over. And they're being very opportunistic defensively. Dane Jackson, that defense for Pat Narduzzi's been pretty good. They got a good win against North Carolina, as you've talked about this week, Friday night.
Previous players under further review.
Thursday night, I guess.
Was down before he pitched it, and I think the answer to that question is going to be yes, it was.
Yeah, no question, the knee down the ground. I think just a little bit before that. I think he was behind the line of scrimmage. I know that looked like a forward lateral, but I believe he was behind the line, so it becomes a forward pass at that point. But I think it was the knee will be down, and so the discussion here now is what is the time on the clock? Where was the location of the knee going down? Because they had reset the sticks. See, the sticks had been, I believe, reset. So let's take a look and see. No, he was down. He was definitely downfield. And he certainly pushed it forward, so that would qualify as an illegal forward pass. So that actually should be.
So Georgia Tech would be better off with his knee being down, because otherwise it's a penalty.
Right. Now this isn't taking entirely too long with the score 45-0.
After further review, the runner's knee was down with the ball at the 41-yard line. It will be second down, Georgia Tech.
With his knee down, there cannot be an illegal forward pass. So he was already down before he pitched it forward. So they got it right. It was just a matter of finding the location, getting the stick set, and then getting the clock fixed.
Dave, I want to go back to something you said at the very top of the show when we're talking about Virginia Tech and this run they've been on AD after Duke. And you rightly said that. I think most people on the outside buried this Virginia Tech team in terms of ACC championship contention. And look, here they are 50 days later. And not only are they in the mix, but they are playing their best football of the year and dominating their competition.
Well, the people you credit for that That's a heck of a throw right there. Again, the ball should be caught. Yates has thrown a couple tonight since he's come in that should have been caught. But the people you credit for that, as we take a look at Yates shooting this ball to the wide side of the field on that deep out route from the slot, well thrown ball. Got to catch this. But
3rd and 7, ball on the 41.
When you have a circle the wagons moment, you can go one of two ways. It continues the snowball and go downhill, or you rally. And this is a young team, so give the seniors and the juniors that are on this team, and there aren't many of them, credit for kind of holding this thing together and saying, hey, we're going to get it right. And the coaching staff for being able to get all these kids to get back and refocus and make this run like they have.
The clock winding down. They snap it before it expires. Yates looking for the tight end Davis. That ball dislodged by Chapman.
That's a very similar play Chapman had earlier. They're coming with pressure. He's going to have to get it out quick. It's a crossing routes. The tight end, Tyler Davis. And this time, Chapman doesn't have to make the tackle. He uses a great job of the right hand raking the ball out. Right decision by the quarterback because of the coverage. Better play that time by Chapman.
A couple weeks ago, Chapman made his presence felt in South Bend, a career-high 5 tackles, and made his first career start last week at against Wake. Georgia Tech takes a timeout with 3 minutes to go.
Timeout, Georgia Tech, that first.
In a 45-point game.
Well, Chapman is from that, we talked about him, the redshirt freshman. You were mentioning him in his game earlier in the year where he played so well. He's another one of those kids that is a youngster, but he's from the Tidewater area. You start talking about, that's an area that Virginia Tech has owned. There's some great football players that come out of that region, and he's another one. And a lot of them have found home at Virginia. It's actually an area where the University of Virginia, UVA, has tried to tap into that area. They've really tried to invade that area, which has kind of been owned by the Hokies. And they've made a few inroads, but still, the Hokies still pulling a lot of players out of that area.
Can the Hokies maintain the shutout? 4th and 7 for Georgia Tech. Jordan Yates in relief of James Graham zips it down the sideline, and it's incomplete. Pretty nice throw, but through the hands of P.J. Harris, and Virginia Tech will take over.
This is a perfect throw from Yates. Look where this ball is. Right on the money, and you might have been able to call Chapman. Did he have hold of his right arm? He couldn't get another arm up because he was holding his right arm. So not sure what was seen there, but
Bud Foster's had
pass interference.
Bud Foster's had a few calls go against him, but he deserves a few calls to go his way, and the narrative is building for a tremendous finale to Foster's legendary career. For more on that, let's go down to Abby.
Yeah, guys, and they're going to keep saying we have a lot of football left to play for Bud, but Bud, he hasn't, that hasn't kept him from keeping and thinking about his retirement plans. He says he has a lake place, and he looks forward to trying out wake surfing in his retirement. The other thing he looks forward to is doing yard work, mowing the lawn, and he says he has a lot of leaves on his front yard right now he wants to get rid of.
He's not alone in that department.
Well, you know what? I just need a video. I need a video of Bud Foster wakeboarding. I think that would be some fun stuff to watch.
He'll have one hand on the rope and another hand on the lunch pail. He'll be carrying that with him, presumably.
Yeah, no question about it. Good man, fun guy to talk to. Been a great pleasure of mine over the last 10 years. I've had a chance to cover this conference. To have a chance to sit down and talk with that man right there. Always been very forthcoming. Loves his kids. They love him. Be a sad day for college football when he steps away, but man, what a legacy he's put out as a defensive coordinator.
Final few plays of the game. Virginia Tech is going to improve to 7-3 and going to extend its streak to 27 straight years of going to a bowl under Frank Beamer and now Justin Fuente.
Well, it's an amazing streak that flows through Coach Beamer, of course, and now Justin Fuente, who's done an amazing job taking over for a legend. But they've got grander aspirations than going to a bowl game. They want to win their side of the conference, and then if they can do that, are obviously going to get a date with a potentially playoff-bound Clemson Tiger team who's taking apart your Wake Forest Demon Deacons right now.
And I'll say this. There are obviously plenty of teams in the mix, and the first time we start making assumptions about the Coastal Division, we should stop, because we know the chaos that can ensue. But if I'm Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers, sure, I'm feeling really good about my team. They're blowing out the Deacs right now at Memorial Stadium. But between Virginia and Pittsburgh and Virginia Tech, which team would you not want to play if you're Clemson? I think it's these Hokies.
Yeah, I don't know if they think that way in Clemson, South Carolina. I think they'll say, hey, we'll take on all comers and we'll take you on in the parking lot. But, yeah, this is a hot Virginia Tech team right now, and it's a pretty good Pitt team. What a matchup that's going to be just next week. I'm looking forward to getting to Virginia and watching that Virginia team who has to play this team in a couple weeks.
We'll be in Charlottesville next week. Meanwhile, Georgia Tech plays Thursday night, and they'll be trying to score points because today they have been shut out for the first time in 283 football games. Georgia Tech fails to score against Justin Fuente's Hokies. Bud Foster's defense with a shutout for Virginia Tech. On the road here in Atlanta, the final seconds ticking away. The Griffin brothers, they'll go head-to-head again next year, presumably. But Jalen Griffin and the Hokies win this battle in Atlanta. 45-0 is your final score.
Yeah, tremendous performance by Virginia Tech. It's one that they came in with a chip on their shoulder. They wanted to erase the memories of 3 consecutive losses to Georgia Tech, and certainly the thumping they took in Lane Stadium a year ago.